let's say Python higher level programming. We'll start with the basic things. We'll talk about software development cycle. Like before, when someone releases software, what will be the phases the software will go through. We'll talk about data types in Python. Last week, we talked about this idea that the number 5 here is different than 520 and 5 like here. This one, we called it integer. This one, we called it float. And this one is called string. And these are like 3 of the basic Python data types. There are more. We'll talk about them in future, inshallah. And mathematical expressions. Remember, programming languages started early years just to solve math. Calculator is the basic computer. So we need to write a proper mathematical expressions to get the results. For example, if you want to evaluate 5 plus 10 over 2. Some students might write it this way, 5 plus 10 over 2 and 5 plus 10 over 2. And by now, I believe we know that this is the correct one, this is incorrect. Basically, when we have a mathematical expression, the order of operations will go step by step. And that's what we call precedence rules, if you remember that in math. Here, we'll do the same thing, or we call them in math the BIDMAS, the precedence rules. You start with the parentheses, indices, which are the powers or roots, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. All right, so by the end of this lecture, it is expected that students learn to apply fundamental concepts in the context of computer programming, describe the basic phases of software development lifecycle, use strings for terminal input and output. We've done that last week when you do the input command and the print command. So those are the commands or the functionalities of these commands. We'll use numbers, whether they were integers or floating point numbers, to perform arithmetic operations and write a proper arithmetic expression. A common example, I will give you an expression in math, something like this, and I will ask you how to write that in Python. Also, an important thing here, when you create a variable, for example, a equal 5, probably the letter A is meaningless. Like, what do you mean by A? However, when you say radius equal 5, it's kind of meaningful. So this is more about some guidelines for writing variable names. And there are also sometimes restrictions. For example, we know last week from the input command that I need to convert the number into convert the input into a number, because the default state for inputs are strings. So we said int input, enter a value. Okay, we have parentheses. So this first parentheses to this one and that one there. So the commands int or input, they are called keywords. Keywords, they are reserved words that they are meant for the language. So here I'm programming in Python. So the command int means that convert this number into integer. And input, receive input commands through the keyboard. So you cannot later on say that int equal 10. If you do that, some compilers will create an error that this is a keyword that you cannot use it to assign variables or to save variables. Some compiler might let it go. However, this command will no longer work because throughout this code, the int is no longer the command to change data types. It will be the command, or it's not even a command. It is a variable with value 10. We will apply that in the lecture and see which one of these our compiler actually follow. Okay, so this is the outline. Now the SDLC, the software development lifecycle. Basically, when the inventor of WhatsApp decided to come up with the idea of WhatsApp. What happened was, back in the day, in order to send a message from one place to another, you need to send it through SMS, short message service, SMS. SMS in many places, it costs money. So that guy thought of the idea that why not sending text messages, but without paying money? Just use a service that is always available, which is the internet, the Wi-Fi. So at the beginning, there is a customer request. There is an issue he needs to solve. So before coming with a software, there's a problem you need to solve. And that problem is, for example, let's take WhatsApp as our example. Customers requested a short messaging service, but without paying money. Then the guy did some feasibility analysis. Like, is this doable? I can send it. There are some security concerns I need to worry about when you send the message over the network, over the Wi-Fi. Will someone be able to hack it, and so on and so on. And by the way, I'm saying person, but it's a whole team. It's a whole company. So the designers or the people who thought of this application, they will think, like, they'll do some analysis, feasibility analysis. Feasibility analysis means that, is this doable? And what will be the challenges, and so on. So up to this point, there is nothing technical. Those are not technical. You just do some certain studies. Like, you did a survey, there was a need to solve a certain problem. You see, like, by the knowledge we have, can we solve this problem, and so on. Once these things are solved, then you start the design. In the design part, it's more into algorithms. No coding yet. And this design, you write like a flow chart when we do Java, write algorithms, and so on and so on, because in the end you're solving a problem. So you need to have a proper workflow to solve that problem. Now, once this step is done, then you are ready to implement it using a certain programming language, using C++, using Java, using Python, and so on. The list goes on. And the implementation part, in here, you need some experienced coders to implement the ideas that you have and put it into code and see how the problem could be solved. Now, in the implementation part, for example, you can divide it into subcategories. Like, some people worry about the Wi-Fi part, how to integrate Wi-Fi or how to use Wi-Fi. Some people will be dealt with the security. Like, I don't want my message to be, let's say, intercepted by hackers, and so on. Then you have all these pieces together, you integrate them to have the full software integration. Integration, because each big problem could be solved into sub-problems. And once these sub-problems are fixed, you do the integration. You put them all together to solve the problem. And that's it. Once you are done with the integration, you release your software. And after release, you realize that at each, let's say, every now and then, there's some maintenance. Maintenance will be based on user feedback. For example, WhatsApp, the color is green. Probably at the beginning it was clear, let's say, strictly green. Nowadays is like something you can modify. So based on the user's feedback, they want this kind of freedom. Initially, WhatsApp was used to send text messages. Now you can send pictures, videos, contacts, a lot of documents, a lot of things. So these are based on feedback. I noticed that the maintenance part goes all the way to the first phase. So all phases will be subject to maintenance. Releasing a software doesn't mean that that's it. You release it and you are good to go and nothing happens later. And you notice that in your phone, every now and then your apps need what? Updates. And this is the maintenance part. Updates, the first thing, if you like, at each update, when you look at your phone, it will tell you a summary about these updates. And one of the basic ones will be enhancing security, let's say, encoding and security encryption, and so on. Okay, so are we clear about those parts? Now you are required to remember what I said. It's not written in the slides, it is recorded in this lecture. Now the costs. Now notice the cost per phase, they vary. Not each phase have the same cost. So coming up with an idea should not be an issue. The analysis part is easy. Now with design, you need someone at least knows a little bit about problem solving. Now, when it comes to the implementation part, the coding, well, you need expert coders. You need people who are software engineers, IT specialists, and so on to write these segments. And then later on, you need an expert to put all these segments together. Notice probably all of them combined are less than the maintenance part, because maintenance is periodic. You don't do it once, you do it every now and then. And the maintenance will interfere at each phase. So a typical question will be, which phase is the most costly? It is maintenance. All right. Now percentage. So basically this slide and the previous one, they have the same meaning. This is what we call a bar chart. It shows you the value based on the amount and bars. The second one is a pie chart, similar to that representation, but now instead of using bars, I'm using a circle, and you cut that circle into pieces, pretty much like a pie. That's why they call it the pie chart, and shows you the percentage for each one of them. Okay. So that's it about software development lifecycle. Just a lot of memorizing, but just to tell you that the software journey doesn't start by just an idea. It requires a lot of process, a lot of work, and a lot of experience. Now, data types. Why data types are important? When you store a variable in the computer needs to know how to handle that variable. For example, when you store a number, well, the computer basically, when you apply a mathematical operations, you can do that with numbers, but you cannot do that with strings. A string is something like you cannot say Ahmed equal 5. Well, you can do that, but you cannot say Ahmed plus 10 or A plus 5. That doesn't mean anything in math. So a data type consists of a set of values and set of operations that can be performed on these values. Basically, if you know the data type, you know what operations you can do. Now, in numbers, we can do math. In strings, we can do other operations. One of them is concatenation, we covered today. A literal is the way the value of the data type look to the programmer. How the string look like, how the variable look like. For example, when we say A equal 5, we immediately know that A is an integer. Why? Because 5 was written as a whole number. However, when we say B equal 6.3, this decimal point, I immediately know from the appearance of that number, this is a floating point number. This is a float number. When we say name equal 10, what is the data type of name? It's an integer because I put the value 10. However, where is the eraser? If I write name equal Ali. Now this is a literal, this is a string, because strings are written between quotations. So integers, that's the Python syntax. If you want to convert certain argument into integer, this is the command you used for. We've seen that last week when you input the age. So we use the command integer to convert the age into a number. Float, that's the command to convert into floating point operations. And that's the string to convert into strings. Now notice in string, there are two ways to write it. There is one with double quotations, and there's the one with single quotation. Who has done Java? Who did Java programming? In Java programming, what do we call this? No? Oh, if you took Java. What is the data type of A in Java?
A comment maybe?
No, it's not a comment. This is the character. A character is a single thing enclosed in single quotations. However, in Python, there is no such thing called characters. They are all strings. So it makes life easier. So strings, either double quotations or single quotation. You start with double quotation, you finish with double quotation. You start with single quotation, you finish with single quotation. Those are all characters here. Okay, and this is what we call the lateral, the way the variable look to the programmer. When you see these quotations, this is the lateral. All right, so let's work a little bit on strings. String is basically a sequence of characters. Unless, like, could be letters, could be numbers. They are together and enclosed between single quotation or double quotation. So there is that special case, the empty string, which is basically double quotation, not even a space, because double quotation, and you have a space here, that's a character. That's a string, which is the space. And space, we cannot consider it empty. It is a space. However, that one, the empty string, there is nothing in there. What is the length for this one? The length is the number of characters. Empty string, what is the length? Zero. There are no characters in there. Let's verify it. Let me open Spider. Probably I should have opened it before the class. It's gonna take a while. Okay, so this is the code we wrote last week. I'll remove it. And let's say string equal the empty string. And let's run that code segment. And notice the size is 0. Even though it is the string, but the size is 0, it's empty. If I try string equal string double quotation space double quotation, though it looks empty, but the length is 1. The space is a character.
2 spaces.
1 space.
Double space. 2 spaces. Double space.
Yeah.
Will be 2. That's all.
Okay, another space. Definitely is gonna be 2. What about the tab? I hit tab. You know the tab. It's not there in Python. So there was no tab. Okay, see here, I'm hitting tab, nothing is there. There's no tab in Python.
No.
In Java is there, I believe. And here I think I can use it. Say if I want. No, it's not even used. Okay. Go back to the slides. So for example, here, I have this code. I am using Python. Notice there are single quotation and there is double quotation. However, as I mentioned, when we start with double quotation, my string will end at another double quotation. So I have this double quotation. My, let's say, stream will keep going. I can write everything until I put the other double quotation. In that case, this string is complete, and it says I am using Python. Even though we have a single character here, but this single quotation here, this single quotation is part of the string. Now, at some point, it might confuse people. Like when do you use it as a beginning of or like something string related, or I want to use that character to appear. To avoid that confusion, there is something called escape sequences that if you want to display certain characters, how to do that? For example, for the string, the standard is to put I, the backslash. So this is equivalent to I am. We'll later see that in the escape sequences. The next slide, I believe, yeah. Now the other one here, print, I am using Python. What's the difference between this one and that one? The double quotations. See, the first one, when you say I am using Python, it keeps the lateral there. I'm not displaying. When you do the print will print the value. What is the value? It's the string itself, which is this content. This is the string. This is the value. Those are used for laterals. So when you put this command in print, print will display the value, not the whole thing with the laterals. Remember, laterals are the identifiers that tell me the data type. In strings, the laterals are the single or double quotations. When you use the command print, it will print the value of that string. If we go back to Spider, and let's say string equal Ali, and run that command. Now notice here, what is the value? Is Ali, but does it have quotations? No. So when you do print command, it will print the value only without these quotations. However, this one here, string Ali, that's the laterals. I'm writing it with laterals. Is it clear? Okay, slideshow from current slide. Now, what about the last case? Oops. Current slide. Now, the last case here, I am using Python. What's the difference between this one and that one? So here, I started with single quotation, and what will be this one? That should be the end of the string, because I started with single quotation. If I see another single quotation, that's the end of the string. What about those? I ended my string. So this is what we will call a syntax error. That's an error. So there should be some single quotation or double quotation. Or there should be at least an operation, because you cannot write a string and there's another string next to it with no reason. You need to probably add a plus sign. We'll talk about the plus sign in a few minutes. So the last case will cause a syntax error. Now, escape sequences, what do we mean by that? Sometimes there are special characters or special operations that we need to apply. For example, right now I wrote the tab. It didn't work well. What if I want to add spaces, not just a single space? So I need to add a tab. Tab is about 4 spaces, if I recall well. And it is \T. This backspace is not widely used. Forget about it. So the horizontal tab, \T. \T will add horizontal space, about 4 spaces, I believe. We'll just give it a try now. Another one when writing a string is to give a new line. New lines are important. We'll see that later on. That when you end the string and you want to write more, it's better to start with a new line. Otherwise, the strings will be stuck to each other and might not have a very good looking outcome or output. So the new line is \n. Now to write special characters, there are the \, single quotation, and double quotation. So those are special characters. Let's try it on Spider. So let's try that first name. The first one was, so what was the command? I am using Python, this one here. I am using Python. Now from the colors, I'm not sure. Yeah, it appears, right? You can see the color difference. Strings usually is shown in green color. In this theme, if you change the theme, it might change. So you cannot just say, oh, it's red with me. It's fine. But it shows you like there's a unique color for strings, and that is green. So the first one, the letter I, it is in green, but what's right after it? It's black. It's no longer a string. Why? Because I started with single quotation. I wrote the letter I. When I added another quotation, I finished my string. What's after is no longer a string. So when you hit enter, it will show you that undetermined string literal. So you have an issue in your string. Now someone might say, okay, well, if my issue with one quotations, I will add another quotation. And let's see how it looks. I am using Python. So these two quotations that are inside, they just cancel each other. Like you see these two, they're kind of like an empty string. That's an empty string. And that's nothing, you know, there is nothing in there. If we add space, let's see how it will go. Magnifier. If I have it like this, what is expected to be? I am using Python. So it basically is a string and kind of added to another string, and what's in between is empty. So it just eliminated that. I am using Python. Now let's try with special characters, escape sequences.
Why you write the code down?
Because I want it line by line, hit and execute, hit and execute. Now, if I write it here, there'll be no output. So like, unless I write it here, highlight and execute that line, same thing. But no difference. Like I can use the same thing here. I am, okay, I am using Python. So I can use that, hit, and yeah. To ensure that this is the line I just wrote, CLS to clear the screen, run selection, there we go. So instead of doing this long process, I'm going to do it line by line immediately. Yes.
So, Doctor, the I is a string and using Python as a string, it will combine both here?
Yeah. So let's do the escape sequences. All right, so let's try the string. Name equal Ali \n Ahmed. Now someone might look at it like that's a weird looking text. Now remember, there is something called escape sequences. So when you write, like you trace this line, Ali is the full name. Now, once you see the backslash, you should know that something is going on. No, it does not use single quotation. Backslash, and the function will happen after the, let's say, the letter or the character I have after the backslash. I have the letter N. Backslash N means what?
No,
Go to a new line.
New line.
So when you display this line, it will display Ali Ahmed. However, be careful. It will display it. What is the command we use for display? Print. So when I do print, this will appear. So let's confirm it. So name Ali Ahmed. So let's type name. Name will display it as the literal. It is like that. You see, that's the literal with the quotations. Now do print name. Print name. You see the difference between the first and the second one? Laterals will work with the print command. Sorry, escape sequences will work with the print command. If you leave it as it is, it's just a lateral. The content is there, like Ali Ahmed, Ali/N Ahmed, that's the whole string. And what is the length for that string? So Ali is 3, Ahmed is 5, that's 8, and \n 10. Well, \n, this \n is considered one thing. It's a new line. See, even though when we're counting them, they sound 10, right? Ali, ALI, that's 3, \n, so \4 and 5. Ahmed is 5, that is 10. However, Python don't see it this way. So it's like \n as a single character, a new line, like you hit enter. And the length in this case is 9. Let's add a tab. What is the tab? \t. Run it. So again, name, it will write it with the lateral. And when you print it, Ali as a single space. So it's no big deal actually. The tab here is a single space, and this compiler is a single space. I remember doing it in Java, it was 4 spaces. So here the it's just a tab, it's just a space. And what is the length? 9, same thing. Double quotation, single quotation. So sometimes you want to do a string like this. I am enjoying school. And you know that there is an issue here. So someone at the beginning like say should be a nice string, a fine string that starts with a single quotation and ends another single quotation, but there's a single quotation in between that's corrupting my string. So when I run this line, there's an error. So how to solve it?
Put that in parentheses.
Backslash. Backslash. And there you go. And even though the name is the variable name is name, so print I am enjoying school. So to be on the safe side, especially regarding quotations, use the backslash single quotation or backslash double quotation. So it's regardless what you use for the string start or end.
Backslash single quotation will just type it, right? I mean,
Just type a single quotation
single quotation.
when you do print. Okay. Current slide. So those are the escape sequences. Okay, how to swap? Oops. Okay, display settings, duplicate. All right, so those are the escape sequences. We finished them. Now there is a process, very important process in strings. It's called concatenation.
Doctor, I can't see
Concatenation is
the
this.
screen.
I can see the screen.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for letting me know. Probably I need to share more time. Okay, let me just confirm if the recording is going. Because I remember once time I forgot to do the recording and it was a mess. Yeah, recording is still going. Perfect. You see it Said now?
Yes, doctor.
Perfect. Okay. Now, concatenation, basically, you are adding strings together, but not mathematical addition. You just put them next to each other. That is concatenation. So, for example, you have this string hi, there, can. So you have hi plus there plus can, you will get this like this as the outcome. Now, notice like at the end of each string, we have a space. The reason perfectly because when we add strings together, I don't want the last character of my first string to be stuck with the first character of the second string. So I'll give a space just for formatting. So there is no error, no syntax, nothing, no issues. So to confirm it, okay, I will write this code here. Hi plus I am using plus Python. And when you hit enter, see how the output look like. Hi, I am, the I and other I, they are stuck to each other, and also the letter G in using is stuck with P in Python. But you know, for formatting, each string you finish it with a space. Now, when you do the concatenation, it looks nice, and that's why this in the slides you have a space after hi. And that's it. That's one way of concatenation. Another way of concatenation is you repeat the string several number of times. For example, the word hi, I want to repeat it 5 times. So you just multiply by 5. Hi, 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 hi. But again, they are stuck to each other. So to solve this issue, I just put a space high, 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 and they are all in horizontal. It's not vertical. How to make it vertical?
Add slash n.
You add the escape sequence \n. However, what do you expect the outcome will be here?
No.
Escape sequences, where do they work? In print command. Now, in this one here, they are all next concatenated. If I want them print, and let's see how it works. There we go. Escape sequences work inside the print command. Is it clear? Another common way to do concatenation is during display. For example, I will create a variable name called average equal 10. And let's assume this average, I got it from a certain calculation. And I want to display a message. Print, the average is 10. So print, the average is K plus AVG. So that's one way of putting it. Now, what does happen here is I'm going to display the average is, and I will look for the contents of the variable AVG. What is the content? 10. So the average is 10. However, remember with concatenation, the end of the string, what do I need to do there for formatting? Add a space. So let's assume I did not add a space here. Run. The average is counter average. Okay. Average is
Doctor, I think it's string and integer.
yeah. The issue here, concatenation is a string with a string. But here, average is a number. So I need to convert it to a string. str. And let's see, will it work now? Yeah, the average is 10. However, it was what? Stuck. Average is colon 10. And we solve it by doing this. So the average is 10. Now notice here, if I wanted to do concatenation here, I need to convert my number into a string to perform concatenation. There is a shortcut way to do it. I will not do the conversion. I will type, I will write the same command, the average is similar thing here, but instead of plus, I will add a comma 10. Sorry, AVG. First of all, I did not do the plus sign for a concatenation. I'm using the comma, and I did not do string conversion. I did not convert the average, which is integer, into a string. So what we'll see here, I got the output. I did not even add space. Space was already given to me. So that's one way in displaying messages, and I hope this is going to be your standard from now on when you display a message. Never display a number by itself, or never display a message by itself. The message should be complete, should be guiding, not just print 10. Because if you remove that line, syntax-wise, it's perfect. And run it, it is 10. But what does 10 mean? No idea. So it's better to give it a explanatory message. Explain that value. So 10, the average is 10. Is it clear for this string concatenation thing?
Only a comma, right? You added a comma, right?
A comma, and you don't need to add a space at the end of the string as a separator. And there is no need to string conversion. You don't need to convert to string. Is it clear? All right. Okay. Okay, variables and assignments. Now, what is a variable? Remember last week we mentioned I show you like a diagram for a variable is basically is a location in the memory where you store data. So the variable must have a name, type, and the value. For example, a equal 5, the name is 5, the type is integer, the value is 5. That's for this line. Similar thing here, a equal 10, name equal Ali. So variable associate a name with a value and type. Variable naming rules. Reserved words cannot be used as a variable name. You cannot say int equal 5. Because int is a keyword or a reserved word for Python. If you use it, that might cause issues. Another thing, you cannot use special characters in your name. So you cannot say a/t equal 10. Why? Because this one is not a character. That's a mathematical operation. That's the subtraction. Similar thing here, a equal b. So that's a special character that has a meaning. So special characters, or you cannot use them in naming your variables. However, you can use the underscore, like family name, family underscore name equal, like I'll use mine, Al-Khatib. So that is a perfectly fine syntax assignment statement. If there is no underscore, that's a syntax error. Space is a special character. So must start with a letter or underscore and has no characters, special characters. And it should not start with a number. You cannot say 9a equal 10. Starts with a number. So a common multiple choice question we provide you in the exam. One of these variable names is invalid. Invalid maybe start with a number or has a special character. And what else? Or it could be a reserved word. So keep that in mind. So in here, we have all variables are fine. Another thing, variables are case sensitive. So the letter A here is not the same as letter A here. So does not equal. Uppercase is different than lowercase. So be careful when you name your variables or select a name for your variables because the case sensitivity matter a lot. Now the variable in Python, each variable must have a value. Now why I said in Python each variable must have a value. Some other programming languages, you do not have to state the value. You can just declare a variable name. So for example, okay, let me remove what's going on here. So let's take Java, for example. Java, you will take it next semester, inshallah. In Java, you can say integer A. And you have to finish with a semicolon, so in Java. So that don't worry about the syntax here, but in Java, you must declare the name. This is what we call variable declaration. You should say, oh, this is the variable called A, and the data type is integer. And you don't have to state the value there. In Python, it is a must. A equal 5. You have to give a value in Python. You cannot just say A. And from the value, using literals, it will know the type. In this case, it will know it is integer. So I don't have to worry about stating the data type for the variable. So that's it. In this one, that's a perfectly functional code in Python. And this is also perfectly functional code in Java, but in Python does not work this way. In Python, we don't have variable declaration. Data type will come from the value itself, and the variable must have a name, must have a value. You cannot do it like in Java or C++, where I can say, oh, you know what? I have a variable called A. I will do the value later. No, in Python, you have to put the value. Now, how do we assign a value? Now, a lot of people think of this as what? In mathematics, we call it what? Equality operator. That's the equal sign. Now, in Python or in programming languages in general, this is no longer equal sign. This is what we call assignment operator. So here, assignment operator. And it's not strictly for numbers. Like in here, I have name equal Ali. So I'm assigning. So what do we mean by assignment operator? I'm assigning the value Ali with data type string to a variable named name in this case, or the variable called name. So assigning a value into a variable. That's why they call it assignment operator. Now, why this differentiation is very important, you'll see it later on, x equal x plus 2. Now, in math, this is incorrect, right? You cannot say x equal x plus 2. It's just simply when you move this one to the other side, x minus x, that's 0, 0 equal 2, which is invalid. So that's in our standard math. Now, in programming languages in general, this is valid, but it's not equality assignment. It's not equality operator, that's assignment operator. It means that evaluate this and assign the result to the variable x. So evaluate x plus 2. So let's assume x is 5. X plus 2 is going to be 7. What will be the new value of x? 7. So this is what we call an update line. So it's not equality statement. That's an update statement. It's an assignment operation that I'm assigning the result of a certain mathematical expression to a variable. We'll talk about it in details, but for now, we'll just memorize that this one is assignment operator. It's not equality sign anymore. Okay. Comments. We've done that last week. Every time you open a new file in Spider, it will start with comments. Comments like, for example, you want to find the area of a circle. And the area of the circle is pi r squared. So you say r equal 5 and area equal 3.14 times r times r. Now someone might ask, what is r? Well, you can do two ways. So you can say radius equal 5 and area equal 3.14 times radius. But after a few lines of code, you will get tired of writing the word radius. Or you can simply here r equal 5 and add to it a comment. R is radius. So from now on, any reader who will read the code will know that the letter R refers to the radius. So that's a comment. Now, comments do not affect the performance of your code. In fact, when you run the code, the first thing the program will do is to discard comments. Comments is for us, for readers, not for the computer. Okay, so the purpose of the comment is to give the reader that this is like some information. Why is it important? You guys, let's say you work on a big project. So some student did some work on the project and he want to hand the project to his friend. So his friend will at least like need to know what's going on in the code, and that will be thanks to comments. He will know that, all right, he did this, and or maybe you can comment to each other, I did this mathematical formula, kindly verify, and so on. So just writing a regular English. Okay, that's the job of comments. Now, comments could be divided into two categories. The first category, a single line comment using the hash sign. And once you hit enter, you are going back to write code. Another kind of comment is multi-line, and we call it docstring. Usually it's more into about documentation. writing about this is the function that if accepts these arguments, and here are the outputs. Data type should be something. So you're documenting the code, docstring. Comment, single line comment is just one thing you write in your code. Now docstring, how to write it? 3 double quotations. You finish with 3 double quotations. Anything in between, that's a comment, a multi-line comment, but we call it docstring to differentiate it from the standard comment. So a comment is a piece of program text that the computer ignores. That's the keyword here, but provides useful documentation to the programmers, to the humans. So that's an example, r equal 5, and you put the hash, set the radius to 5. So if you have it like without this, that's a perfectly functional code. It will work, no issues. But if you give it to another programmer, another reader, you'll get confused. What is r equal 5? But when you leave that segment there, it will be like a guideline for another user. A docstring is another kind of comment, is a multi-line comment. Something like this. So for example, this is the documenting the code. This is the program called circle.py. The author is Ken Lambert, and the last date modified 10/10/17. So sometimes having some information about the date of modification is good. Again, that's documentation. Or this function receives 3 arguments and so on. Remember, in both cases, comments will be ignored by the computer. In a multi-line comment, you can do it 2 ways, either single quotations or double quotations. But be consistent. You started with single quotations, you finish with single quotations. You started with double quotations, you finish with double quotations. Clear? Okay, so let's see how the program will see that. Got spider. So here, if I want to write like a comment, the average hash sign, the average of 10 numbers, for example. A magnifier for the ones who cannot see. So when you write it, let me clear everything, clear the variables, clear screen. So the first line, if I want to run it, run. There we go, average equal 10. And this text here has been ignored by the computer. It did not affect the performance of the code. Now, my recommendation, if you want to write a docstring, start with 3 single quotation and finish with 3 single quotation and write whatever you want here. Because what happens is sometimes I want to start my multi-line comment here. So look, 1, 2, 3. Notice what is left. Let me remove that part to avoid confusion. So what are those considered? They are considered as a comment. Why? Because I did not close my multi-line comment. So it's better to 1, 2, 3. Now they went back to B code. Because sometimes student might ask or do something like this. Oh, sir, it's not working. There are comments. Why? Well, you did not close your multi-line comment. Or double quotations like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Start with single, you finish with single. Start with double, you finish with double. All right. Numeric data types, we have only 2 data types for numbers, integer and float. So basically, computers were invented to perform mathematical operations in numbers. This is very important task. We have 2 types, integer and float. Integers are whole numbers. There is no decimal point. Floats, there is decimal point. They can handle decimal point. In real life, the range of number is infinite. However, the computer memory has a limit. We'll talk about it in seconds. you can convert from one type to another. You can go from float to integer or integer to float, the opposite. That's through data conversion. Okay, now what do you mean by this statement? In real life, the range of numbers is infinite. However, the computer memory has a limit. For example, if you perform this mathematical operation, what is the output? 1 divided 3, how much?
1.3332.
Like 3 over 2. 1 over 3 is decimal point 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, all the way. It will never stop. So when we have something like this, it might overflow the memory. What do you mean by overflow the memory? You don't want your hard disk full of just decimal fractions of 1 over 3. So for precision, computers, at certain point, like after 10 decimal points, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, it will stop. It will stop. That's it. Because the other values are insignificant. Okay, so that's why it says that the computer has a limit. Dealing with decimal numbers, at some point the computer will truncate some excess values. Truncate, removing these extra values. All right. I wouldn't say this is an optional step. Sometimes when a number appears to you, it might be written in a scientific notation. Scientific notation using the E operator. E x equals 10 to the power x times. So 5 E4, it means what? 5 times 10 to the power 4. That's the E operator. Okay, 3.2 E2, how much? Okay, 3.2 times 10 to the power 2, 3.2 times 100, 320. Okay, now in order to make the standard, let's say, a uniform representation of scientific numbers, the standard is have a number. So that's N1 decimal point, N1, N2, sorry, N2, N3, E, N4. Now, what do you mean by N? Just numbers. So the standard is a number in the ones unit, decimal point, 2 digits in the floating point, the decimal part. Then we have the E something. So for example, when you have this number, 5742000, quite a large number. How to represent this number in decimal representation or in the scientific representation? Basically, this is a whole number, right? There is no decimal point, but I assume that my decimal point is here. In terms of value, the decimal point is actually here. Now let's move the decimal point until I have only 1 digit for the ones part, like something like this. And this is the decimal point. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my number will be 5.742 E. Now, is it 6 or negative 6? Why? Okay, it's basically multiplying by 10 to the power 6, which is a large number. And my initial value was a large number. It was 5,704,042. And going back to the standard, I only need 2 digits here. So 742, I will eliminate this 2 because it's no longer significant. 2000 with respect to 7 million is not significant. So my new representation by the it's not going to be positive 5.74 E6. A very small number 0.000456. I have the decimal point. I'm going to move it to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have my representation is 4.56 E -4. Basically, if you have the number very small, the number after E is negative because you are dividing over 10,000. If you have the number very large, then the number next to the E is going to be positive. So that's probably a multiple choice question or like a short answer question. I'm going to give you a number and represent it in scientific format. All right, the important part in this lecture is this one, arithmetic operations. So we use math. Computer was actually built to do math. So the arithmetic operations are as follows. So we have the negation, make the positive negative. And we have the powers. Remember if you remember in calculator, how do you do 5 to the power 3? 5, how do you do power in calculator?
Like this. Yeah.
Aywa, 5 to the power 3. Well, in Python, we don't use that. In Python, 5 *3 or asterisk. 2 asterisks, that's the power. So this is the equivalent to 5 to the power 3. So that's the exponential. Multiplication is represented by the asterisk. It's no longer this sign. This sign is the letter X. And actually the keyboard, if you look at the keyboard, there is no X. There is no multiplication operator. There is the star. Division by the slash operator. Now another representation here, those are important. We'll talk about them in a few minutes. Then we have the addition, we have subtraction. Those are standard multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, powers, kind of standard. Now, what about double slash, a slash slash, and the percentage sign? Slash slash, you remember long division back in the day?
Yes.
Yeah, slash slash will give you the number on top, the result of the division, and the percentage will give you the what? When you do long division, what will be your answers? Two things. The remainder. The remainder. So you have the result and you have the remainder. For example, I will do 55 divides 4. 5 divides 4, that's 1. 1 times 4, 4. I'll add 0, so that's 15. 15 divides 4, how much? 3. 3 divides 4, 3 times 4, 12. 3. 3 divides 4, done. Okay, we are done. This one is the result of 55 quotient division. And the result should be integer. And the 3 now to avoid the word percentage, because percentage has a meaning, with this we call it a modulus operation. Modulus will give me the remainder. Remainder or modulus. And this is the quotient. And both of them should result in an integer number. Okay? Understand the process of those? And treat them in terms of priorities, treat them like multiplication and division. Because basically they are the result of multiplication and division. Now, where do these things play an important role? If I ask you, like I'm giving you a certain expression and I'll ask you find me the answer. For example, a typical question I will ask in my exams. This card, you open the whiteboard. Let me do the next slide until this one opens. So the precedence rules, priority rules, which one goes first? First, you have the parentheses. Whatever between parentheses, finish it first. After parentheses, you do indices. What indices I mean? Powers or roots. Luckily, we don't have roots here, so it's only power, the double asterisk. After indices, we have multiplication and division. Negation, don't worry about it. Negation is not something I prefer to use. Okay. Yeah, so here, negation is not an important thing. Then we have multiplication, division, and modulus. They all have the same priority. Then we have addition and subtraction. What happens if you have addition and subtraction at the same expression? You go from left to right. So operators of equal precedence, you do left to right. And I'll show you an example now, and I'll tell you the right approach to show me the answer in the exam. Okay, so let's see this one. Okay. Okay. So that's from the magnifier. Okay, interesting. How to get rid of this? Okay. So assume that I showed you this command, print. Print, we know that print is display message. 5 times 3. افتحوا له. Let's open the door for him. السلام ورحمة الله. 5 times 3 minus 10 divides 3 plus 5 modulus 2 minus 9 to the power 1/2. And by the way, a lot of students think that they can do that in the calculator. We'll see you in the exam. You cannot do that in calculator. Why? There's no modulus. There's no quotient in the calculator. So you cannot just write this expression and tell me, you know, this is the answer. Calculator will fail you in this test. So you have to do the precedence rules. All right. So which one goes first? No, before. We have the parentheses. We have what? 1/2. How much is 1/2?
1.
Huh? Half. No, but we have these two. So this result in half. Then after parentheses, how much? What do we have?
1.
Exponents. Do you have any exponents here? Powers.
The 9 or half.
I want 9 power half. How much is that? Is it a question?
I'm not sure.
What do you mean power half?
0.
It is the square root of 9. So anything a to the power 1/2, that is square root of a. You finished math. Did you finish math or not? You didn't take that in math? That's my assumption that you took it in math. Anyway, so that's the square root of 9. Now I can evaluate this expression. How much is this? That is square root of 9. It is a 3. Square root of 9.
It's minus.
I'm on minus برا. Still, we did not reach the minus yet. Why? Because I have other operations to worry about. I did the powers. What is the other powers? What is the operation that comes right after power? Multiplication or division. If I have them both together, where do I go first? Left to right, left to right. So here I have this one. So this one will lead to much. How much? 15. This one, how much? Now, because I have quotient, add modulus, and with multiplication, they have the same precedence.
3 and the remaining 1.
Okay, this is not about the remaining. This is just about the 3. This one is about the remaining. Okay, so you have to be careful with this. This one will give me 3. This one is a different thing. This is the result of 10 divides 3. 3 times 3, that's 9. That is 1. This is what I'm going to be concerned. because this one that comes with that operation. This one comes from that operation. So I'm gonna get only 3 here. Plus 5 modulus 2. 1. So then my expression becomes 15 minus 3 plus 1 minus 3. Right?
What is
5 divides 2. 5 divides 2. It's 2 times 2. That is 4, 1 as the modulus. It needs a little bit of practice. Modulus and quotient are quite new concepts, but if you relate them to the long division, they are very easy. All right, so when you have something like this, 15 minus 3, 12 plus 1, 13 minus 3, the answer is 10. How can we verify my answer is correct or not? Let's write it in Spider. I have the computer with me. Okay. So print. It was 5 times 3 minus 10 quotient 3 plus 5 modulus 2 minus 9 to the power 1 over 2.
it?
Okay.
Space.
Huh? One space.
Space.
Space is meaningless in mathematics. Space is just to make it look better, like this, right? Yeah, it's optional. But what is the output? 10. What did we get there? Alhamdulillah. Now, how to do that in the exam? I'm not expecting you to do all these things, showing me that these things will be meaningless to me. I swear to God, if you do this, I'll give you 0. In the exam, let's do it the long and very boring way, actually. So that's the eraser. Let me remove everything. So we'll do it this way. 1 parentheses. So here I have 1 over 2 equal 0.5 as the first thing. 2 power. You have 9 to the power 1. Keep it 1 over 2 or 0.5 is the same. You'll get 3. Step 3 is what? 5 times or multiplication. Five times 3 equal 15. 4 quotient. 10 modulo quotient 3. 5 modulus or remainder. 5 2 equals 2. 1. Now, for simplicity, to simplify to yourself, we did all these operations. Now my expression becomes what? 15 minus 3 plus 1 minus 3. Right? After doing all this simplification. 6. So I have addition and subtraction. Where do you start first? Left to right. 15 minus 3, subtraction. 15 minus 3 equal 12. 7. Addition. 12 plus 1 equal 13. And 8, the last one, subtraction. 13 minus 3 equal 10. Is it clear how to solve such kind of questions? Okay. Next slides. So we've done this part. Okay, here's something for exercise. We'll do them real quick. So here, apply the precedence rules to evaluate the following expression. What is the output of this? 0.6. What about this? I have 12, 2, 14. What about this? 9, 3, 12. What about this guy? First, start with the parentheses. So we have 5. Then the power. 2 to the power 3. 8. Now the good thing about teaching this course, after teaching it for 5 years, I get the same answer. 2 to the power 3 is 9. It is 8. All right. What do we have next? So let's simplify it. 5 divides 10, multiply 8, divides 4, right? That's after simplification. So someone just proposed multiplying 10 times 8. No, there is a division 4. 5 divides 10. 0.5 times 8 divides 4. 0.5 times 8, that is 4, divides 4, answer is 1.
And the third one, put the power of 3,
Ah,
put 9. That's why I said 9.
والله صح. Oof, thanks. You got me there, thank you. Yeah, 2 to the power 3 is 8. 3 to the power 2 is 9. All right, last one. Which one you start with? 5 times 2? لا ما هو multiplication modulus division the same. So that's a 10. 3 over 4. 0.75. Modulus 6. Simplified. I have 10 minus 0.75 modulus 6. Okay, all right, yeah. What is the result? Three. I can't use calculator. Google.
Calculator gives.
I have Spider. Why do you guys look for Google? But think about it. Think about it. 0.75. The result of dividing it over 6. So forget about 0.75. Let's assume 3. 3 modulus 6. Modulus, right? Yeah, modulus 6. What does that mean? What is the remaining of dividing 3 over 6? So let's assume the scenario. I have 3 pens and I have 6 students. And I want to divide the 3 pens equally between these students.
1.75.
And my pens, I cannot, break them. They're just 3. Can I perform the division? No. So how many pens each student get? 0. How many pens remaining in my hand? 3. So same thing with 0.75. Modulus 6, 0.75. Because I cannot do the division, they're all going to be remaining with me. So in this case, I will have 10 minus 0.75, 9.25. You get the idea of the remainder? Always, when you look for the remainder, and if the number is less than the one there, this is your remainder. What about the quotient? How many pens do you have? How many pens do you have? When you have, no, I have 3 pens, I'm dividing it over 6. I could not do the division. How many pens do you have in this case? 0. So the result is 0. So let's verify this expression here. Can I copy it? Perfect. And in this case, we say it's going to be 9.25. There we go. So let's try 3 quotient 7. How much the answer? 3. What about quotient? 0. You cannot do that division.
This was remainder, right?
Remainder. I said quotient.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no. 3 remainder 7. This one. 3 remainder 7 or 3 modulus 7. That's going to be 3. 3 quotient 7. That is 0. Is it clear? It might confuse at the first sound, but when you do the analogy of dividing pens over people, it will become more easier to understand. Last part of this lecture, almost done, is how to write mathematical expression into Spider or into Python or into any programming language. Well, there are things that are easy and there are things that you have to be aware of. We know that everything looks the same, only powers. I have double asterisk and I have the division, I have the slash. Take it as a rule. When you have division, put the numerator between parentheses and the denominator between parentheses. Otherwise, you might get into issues. For example, the first case, I have x plus y and I have 2. Common mistake, x plus y divides by 2. By precedence rules, how this one will be evaluated? Y over 2 plus x, which is incorrect. I should have x plus y evaluated first, because this is how I'm going to do it here. Then the result will be divided over 2. What about this guy? Similarly, always treat the division as like this, x times y divides 2. Now this one here, the parentheses are optional. Why? Even without parentheses, x times y divides 2. By precedence rules, I'm going to evaluate the multiplication first, then I'm going to divide by 2. However, to me, this one in the exam is going to work fine. It's perfectly functional. There's no issue there. What about this one? 1 plus r over 100 to the power n. So it's going to be 1 plus r over 100 all to the power or double star, because you are not written in power, to the power n. Clear? So it's pretty straightforward. All right. We haven't done roots. Did you just come to class?
No.
Okay. So there is a special command called sqrt from a library. We'll talk about it in a bit, called the math module or the math library. There are special functions in Python that you can call and make things easier for you. This one actually could be done in 2 ways. You can say a square plus b square to the power what? 1 over 2. So you don't need a special function for that. Could be solved without the sqrt. Or you call a function called, or a math module, math import math, and then you say math dot sqrt square root or parentheses x or a square plus b square. So both of them, they will give you the same answer. Now the special character pi. Now remember, when we use pi, we used to write 3.14. Now, from now on, import math and area equal math.pi times r squared. Okay, so we have the math library here. The math module is a pre-built library in Python that you can call. So some commands or functions are grouped together in a module. Functions like sqrt for square root and pi. There are others like the absolute value or rounding to round the decimal value. And this is an example of finding a square root of a certain number you put from the user. So never forget this line import math. And in the end, one of the software development life cycles, we call it the waterfall model. In fact, this is the one. The waterfall model, even though I did not talk about it, it is mentioned in the slide. Waterfall, basically, it's sequential. What do we mean by that? You can never go to the next step until you are done with the first step. Like waterfall, the water will go from top to down. So waterfall is sequential, slow, and if there is an error at certain step, you have to repeat. There is another one. What they call it, that one? I forgot. But there is another one, better one, but has more iteration and more complicated, but you don't have to repeat everything from the beginning. Okay, so that's the waterfall. I'll do it from here. The string data type is used to represent text for input and output. Escape characters or escape sequences begin with the backslash and represent special characters or operations. Comments are pieces of code that are not evaluated by the interpreter or compiler or translator. Could be read by a programmer to obtain information. Arithmetic operators are used to form arithmetic expressions, and Python is a strongly typed language, meaning that case sensitive is one of them, syntax, and so on and so on. But that's what you mean by strongly typed. You have to follow the syntax in a strictly manner. Okay, that's it for this lecture. So before we leave, stop sharing and let me stop the recording. All right. Yeah, I'll share the recording inshallah later. Doesn't have to be